Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Marvel Crisis Protocol for the channel. Today's 19 threat match is between the Asgardians and Criminal Syndicate, both of which featuring some new releases. Well, new to me because they haven't been on the channel yet, but maybe not so new in the grand scheme of things. And playing on the table layout you can see before you, so you can probably already guess the two missions being played, but let's look at the sides first. So here is the 5 miniatures in the Asgardian side, being led of course by Thor, but being joined by new on the table Beta Ray Bill, which is just like Horse Thor essentially. I know it's not literally, but that's what he looks like. He's going for that aesthetic at the very least. So he's a 4 threat, he's pretty good, and he's being joined by Scourge, who I think his tactics cards can work on Scourge or him. Then we have Heimdall, and then on loan from Earth we have the World War II era Captain America and their tactics cards, including some new ones here. Odin's Blessing, Scuttlebutt on Me, Rainbow Bridge, Brothers in Arms, and Weapons of Midgard. And here we have the Criminal Syndicate being led by the Shadowlands Daredevil, which is why his hand ninjas are there at the back, because it's hard to fit them in. Being joined by Psylocke, Bullseye, and Rhino, but then new on the block we have the Rock Troll Ulik, or Ulik, sorry, I always get that wrong. Ulik, he's a 5 threat, he is very scary, very tough, also just very imposing looking, I quite like it. Their tactics cards down here, including one new one, is No Mercy, Cruel Tutelage, Shuriken Arashi, Rock and Troll, which I think it just makes him drop all objectives and move 5, and then Cruelty as well. And here's the two crisis cards being played, two of my favourites. 18 threat, Fear Grips the World is Worthy Terrorist Citizens. It's the 4 Celestial Hammers worth 1 VP each. Makes tactics cards more expensive, but makes you pack a wallop. The actual value being played though is on the Secure, which is intrusions open across city as seals collapse. It's the 3 Dormammu portals, 1 VP for holding these now in the cleanup phase. You can interact with them, you roll 1 die. As long as it's not a blank or a skull, you can be placed within one of any other portal you want, otherwise the opponent chooses. Do you still have to drop all objectives with this? Let's see, yes. Even with the updated version of this card, you do still need to drop all objectives to transport through a portal. So hammer over there, there, and hammer over there, and then down the line in the middle. That's why the hammer just slightly offset, just so you can see them all. Portal smack dab in the middle there, and right there. So we'll get both sides set up and be back at deployment. So we are all set up and good to go. Asgard is to your right and will be taking first action in Battle Round 1, and Criminal Syndicate are to your left. You can just take a look here at where everyone is. I forgot to mention, but Beta Ray Bill is blessed by Odin, so he also gets 2 power in the power phase as if he were an Asgardian. So does Ulik actually, just because of being a rock troll, I guess. Anyway, Captain America's down there, Beta Ray Bill is next to Thor, and then Heimdall is up there with Scourge. And if we come over here, Psylocke and Rhino are down this flank for Criminal Syndicate. Then we have Bullseye, Ulik, and over here we have Shadowland Daredevil with his hand ninjas. So, let's jump into Battle Round 1. It was Steve Rogers who got the game started for Team Asgard, moving up almost 2 full movements to get just within 1 of the portal there, and paid the only 1 power. He's the only one on their side that gets 1 power, not 2 power in the power phase. He paid that to pick up the hammer. They're releasing a new Steve Rogers in the new version of the starter set. They're still not doing a worthy version, and that really bugs me. Do the fear itself, Captain America. Come on. So for the Criminal Syndicate, it was very much a similar activation, with the exception that because it was Shadowlands Daredevil, his hand ninjas had to activate first, his grunts. They move medium, as does he, so they kind of moved up into a body blocking type position, because they can't help hold secures, so they're not doing that at all. Didn't pick up the hammer with them though, even though I think they have the capability. Either way, Shadowlands Daredevil paid his power to pick up the hammer there. Heimdall activated, and his medium move was enough that if he did 2 of them, he could simply walk around the hand ninjas there to start contesting that portal with Shadowlands Daredevil there. It's a draw currently, but Scourge can move in. The hand ninjas don't count towards helping it, so it is possible for Asgard still to get majority on that one this turn. So very much just churning along with standard turn 1 of the game. Psylocke activated, moved up twice into position where you can see her there to contest the portal with against Captain America. Moving up a little bit closer than he did though. Scourge was up next for Asgard, also moving up medium twice to help Heimdall control that portal for this turn. Unless someone uses a portal to teleport, that's not going to change. And they're going to go up against Shadowlands Daredevil next turn. I'm not sure who wins that fight because he's pretty tough. The ninjas not so much if they get smacked by anything. But he on his own, he's pretty tough. Rhino activated and moved small twice, but thanks to that big base, still had enough clearance to get round and over here to the portal. So now the Criminal Syndicate are holding that, and Captain America is very much in danger. He could obviously try and use the portal to teleport to safety, but he's holding a hammer, so he would have to drop it. Second last activation for the Asgardians in Battle Round 1 was Thor himself, moving up twice to the centre there, just within one of the portal, and paying one of his 2 power to pick up the hammer there. And someone had to move up and grab that and take the brunt of what's going to come when Ulik activates. So, chosen to be him. Well, never mind about being scared of Ulik. Apparently it's Bullseye you should be scared of. He moved up medium and then initiated an attack. Did just his basic 4 dice throwing knives against Thor, his initial roll having 3 crits in it. And Thor rolled 1 success for his defense. Now, he didn't get a wild for the bleed, but he did manage to do 3 damage to the God of Thunder, which is totally something that Bullseye would do. So Beta Ray Bill activated. He's a medium move despite being on that larger base, and he did opt just to move twice. Now, because he generates 2 power in the power phase, he can actually do a pretty decent 6 dice range 4 energy attack turn 1 if he wanted to. But he opted instead to help secure that portal for the turn 1, just to give hopefully the 1 point swing, especially because Thor took half his health from a 4 dice attack, so just kind of prepping a little bit. So it was left to Ulik to see off the end of Battle Round 1. He moved small on that size base, so he moved up, standing within 2 of Beta Ray Bill and 1 of the hammer there. He picked it up. His basic attack is the same as Thor's, more or less. It's 6 dice physical, range 2. So he did that on Beta Ray Bill, and up to 7 dice because of the hammer, with a push, I believe it was, on Wilds, although he was kind of lodged in there against the car, and he fully blocked the attack. It was a very good roll. Beta Ray Bill can also pay 1 power to reduce damage received by 1. I can't remember offhand if it's to a minimum of 1 or just by 1. If he is successfully damaged, he also has his version of aggressive called Honor Bound, where he can move towards whoever hit him, but not relevant here. Ulik kind of a whiff on his first activation ever, but I'm sure he'll get a chance to murder things soon. So at the end of a somewhat abrupt Battle Round 1, here's how things stand. For Asgard, they hold 2 of the portals, the one at the top of the screen up there. They also hold the middle, thanks to Thor and Beta Ray Bill, for 2 victory points, and they have 2 of the hammers for 2 more, putting them at 4. Criminal Syndicate hold this portal down here, and they hold the other 2 hammers, so they're at 3, so they're only trailing by 1. If Fisk was here instead of Shadowlands Daredevil, they actually would have been a draw up there, thanks to how the characters counting is 2. But Shadowlands Daredevil is just a reroll on attacking people who are contesting an objective. So as we go into round 2, Asgard is still taking first activation. Thor's going to have a bit more power to play with thanks to that damage he took, so I imagine it'll be him going first, but let's see. So it was Thor that got the second round started, and although he stood still, he did a bunch of stuff. Starting with, he used Asgardian affiliation bonus to pay 1 power to heal himself for 1. So he's down to 2 damage on himself now. Then he paid 3 to pick up the Daily Bugle stand, which had been there, and chucked it at Bullseye, who took 2 damage as a result of the up to 4 damage he could have. So then he just stayed where he was and paid 2 more power for 2 separate hammer throws, one at Bullseye, which hit for 4 damage, which would have taken him from max health to 0. So he's dazed, and he managed to hit Ulik for 3, but he has Troll Hide, which reduces damage received by 1 to a minimum of 1. He still gets the shock, though, which kind of counteracts him picking up the hammer. So, all in all, did good stuff. He's still contesting the middle portal there, and he took Bullseye out of the equation for a turn. Well, Ulik decided to show why you shouldn't mess with the Rock Troll. He did his equivalent of a charge, which is called Crushing Leap. It's a move, it's small, but then he gets placed within 2, and then he does a Pounder's attack. It counts as one of his actions. He did that and punched Thor in the face. 6 dice up to 7 because of the hammer, back down to 6 because of the shock status effect. Still he had 3 crits again. Well, it was Bullseye the first time, but for the Criminal Syndicate, 3 crits in the attack roll again. Thor rolled no successes, so he's very much living up to his usual power, taking 6 damage and being dazed. He only had 3 health left. Ulik spent 1 power to pick up the hammer Thor dropped, so now he's got 2. And then he used Bad Manners, which is his pick up and throw. He picked up the cop car here, chucked it into Beta Ray Bill. Did 1 damage, well, would have done 2 damage, but he paid 1 power to reduce it to 1. And then he did a Pounder's attack, now with 2 extra damage, and Beta Ray Bill, who is only a 4 threat, around all these 5 threats, managed to fully block the 7 dice Pounder. Yeah, because it would be 6 7, back down to 6, back up to 7. Bit complicated, but yes, the right number of dice were rolled, but he only took 1 more damage, sorry, he didn't fully block it. So 2 damage to Better Bill, and now the big rock troll has 2 hammers, and is very scary. He needs 5 power to do his really big attack, but I believe it's 9 base, so it will now be rolling 11 dice. Captain America activated for Asgard next, getting a little bit out of dodge and abandoning the portal over here, not going through it though because he'd have to drop his hammer. He came over here, his basic Stars and Stripes attack is range 3, so he could reach Ulik, rolling 6 dice instead of 5, with the flurry if he'd gotten hitting a shield I think it is. He didn't get it either way, but he did manage to do 2 damage, reduced down to 1 against Ulik, which puts Ulik at 3 damage. I think he has 7 health on his healthy side, he is pretty tough. So before we go to the next Criminal Syndicate activation, there should have been a tactics card play after Ulik's activation because he dazed Thor. No Mercy was meant to be played. It makes the most sense to feed him power so he can do that big nasty attack we spoke about. Just forgot to do it, so we are counting it now. Criminal Syndicate reacted when an allied character would daze an enemy character, the allied character may play this card. It doesn't cost any more, presumably because its flat cost is 0. If that's wrong, apologies. But the character gains 3 power. Well, Rhino was having nothing at all. Rhino was having none of that and initiated a gore from where he was, range 3, and threw in Cruel Tutelage for a big hit against Captain America. Spends 1 to play the card, adds 3 dice for next attack. If you get 1 or more skulls, though, you get staggered. He didn't roll any skulls. They rolled a fair few successes. Captain America did use Vibranium Shield for 2 power to add a couple of dice in, giving him 5, and he still managed to take 3 damage. Rhino had to be placed within 1 during that attack. He then moved back so that he is helping to control this portal, and then paid for nobody accused the Rhino of bad man. That car's been knocked of good manners rather to pick up the car that had been there and chucked it into Captain America's head, and he firmly whiffed his dodge roll, taking 3 more damage and dazing, which is disastrous. He dropped the hammer and Rhino paid 1 power to pick it up. I think that's him completely tapped to power now. But he took Cap out and got a hammer. It's not looking good for Asgard. Well, Better Ray Bill decided to try and take down Ulik before he could do some more damage. Spent on his big spender, which is called... forgotten. God something. Hang on, we're going to have to check. It is called God Hunter. 5 dice for 3 energy, but you add dice equal to their size, and Ulik is size 3. And if you get a certain combination of attacks, it has a guaranteed throw, regardless of size. Didn't get that, but did manage to smack the rock troll for 3, reduced down to 2 damage. Obviously not enough to take him out, so then he did his basic attack with Stormbreaker, which is 5 dice physical, I think it is. The other one was energy. 2 damage, reduced down to 1 on that attack. A total of 3 damage, meaning Ulik in total now is at 6. He is 1 damage away from being dazed, but sitting on almost full power. So, swings and roundabouts, I guess. Oh, I did forget to mention, so just for anyone who is actually keeping track, Better Ray Bill also spent 1 on the Asgardian leadership bonus to heal himself for 1 damage during that turn, meaning he only has 1 damage on him currently. Shadowlands Daredevil was up next for Criminal Syndicate, which of course means the Hand Assassins were as well, and they all decided to try and pick on Scourge, and Scourge took it like a boss. All said and done, from the Hand Assassins he took 1 damage. Shadowlands Daredevil did a couple of his basic coordinated strikes. I believe there are 5 dice normally, up to 6 because he does have one of the hammers. The first one, 3 out of the 4 defense dice rolled by Scourge were crits. So I guess he knows how to block a hit. No one else does though. So he took that one, completely blocked it. Second attempt though did manage to get through against him for 1 damage. Until he's taken 2. I think that leaves him on 4. He has 6 health. So took it like a boss. MVP so far in what has been a fairly lackluster showing. Well, it was time to see if Scourge's luck could continue. He activated and started with his just basic attempt to attack the hand ninjas. Did 3 damage, which indeed is enough that they're gone, but of course they'll come back as soon as Shadowlands Daredevil makes a basic attack. But then he spent on his spender, the Executioner I believe it is, physical 7 dice, something like that, on Shadowlands Daredevil. Would have got extra dice if he was bleeding, but he wasn't. Shadowlands Daredevil counted blanks as successes because of Martial Artist, and took 2 damage of his, I think his 6 on his healthy side. Not as good as you would hope, but clearing out those assassins is certainly a start. So you remember, of course, Psylocke was down here, and she's actually the last activation of round 2 for Criminal Syndicate. She paid 1 power to interact with the portal. She wasn't holding any hammers or anything like that. She teleported herself all the way up this end of the table to help out in this little brawl here, initiating 2 basic attacks in the end. Not the telekinetic katana, the other one. I forgot what it's called, but it's Energy, not Mystic. Both of them on Scourge. The first one would have done a massive 4 damage. She spiked pretty hard, so Odin's Blessing came out of the hand at that point. Pay 3 to reduce the damage received by 2-1, so that's why Scourge has 1 damage there. She then tried to do it again, and this time his luck came back and he fully blocked it, so he is still very much the MVP, but her just being there means that it's now dropped that portal, and just Heimdall to go for Asgard, I believe, thanks to those dazes. Yeah, so I don't think he's going to clear both of them out. We need to take a look and see what his best option is. Well, Heimdall did find a way to scrape another victory point out at the end of this round. He activated, spent 3 on Horfund, and did it on Shadowlands Daredevil, 7 dice physical, and if you deal damage you can push them back medium. The attack roll was good, but the Shadowlands Daredevil's block was just as good. Still took 2 damage, but the point is that damage was done, so he could push him back medium, so he's all the way back here, meaning that because Scourge stayed on his feet, they're holding that portal. He then just tried to do his basic attack, his 5 dice strike on Psylocke, who fully blocked it. And that does take us to the end of Battle Round 2. So we'll do the scores. So at the end of Battle Round 2, it is fair to say Criminal Syndicate pretty much dominated that entire round. If we just look at the points, Criminal Syndicate have all 4 of the hammers, 2 of them on Ulik, 1 on Shadowland Daredevil, and 1 on... who else has the other one? Rhino now, because he took it from Captain America. So they gained 4 from that, and they gained 1 from the portal here, so they gained 5 victory points, taking them up to 8. The Asgardians gained a whole 1 point, because it's a draw in the middle between Battery Bill and Ulik. So they, thanks to Heimdall, capped the portal up there for 1, taking them to 5. So 8 plays 5 in Criminal Syndicate's favour. And what else? So a bunch of people are flipping their cards. Captain America, Thor, Bullseye, and a couple of people are really close to having to flip their cards. Ulik and Shadowlands Daredevil is getting up there as well. And Criminal Syndicate also have first activation now, so we're probably going to see a very angry rock troll do some stuff before he succumbs to his wounds. So of course it was Ulik to get Battle Round 3 started. He started by doing an action, Crushing Leap, which is the move small, jump within 2, and then do a Pounder's attack. So if we come over here, he did that to Scourge and did 2 damage, all said and done. He then paid for Bad Manners to pick up the card that had been there, hawked it into the back of Scourge's head for another 2 damage, and dazed him. He started with 10 power. He had enough power to do Shatter Mountain, Shatter Bones, which is his 9 dice, range 2, 5 power to use it. A big spender, up to 11 dice because of his 2 hammers. And poor Heimdall was on the receiving end of that. It gives a stagger token just from using it, unless you get a certain combination, a crit, wild, hit, and skull, in which case you give them an activated token. He would have got an activated token had he not taken so much damage that he dazed. It was too much damage coming in, the roll was too good, didn't even try and use the All-Seeing Eye, would not have saved him. So Heimdall also dazed. I'm sure someone will get a hit in on Ulik and make him drop those hammers, but he's earned his keep this turn already. Oh sorry, all is not entirely lost. 5 damage is not enough to daze Heimdall. He's a 6 health character, so actually he's still alive on 1 hit, but he is going to have an activated token, so he might as well be dazed. It's actually not better, in some ways it's actually worse, but he is not dazed. Someone could still hit him, but he's not getting a turn. Was hoping to see Brothers in Arms at work here this turn, but can't really with what Battery Bill and Thor need to do independently of each other. So Thor activated, did a charge for Asgard rather, his version of a charge for 3 power, which really should be 2 power. But anyway, move followed by a strike attack. He did it on Ulik with the goal of dealing that 1 damage to daze the rock troll. He was then going to move into the portal with his other action most likely. Unfortunately, it was fully blocked. He did no damage. So instead he had to do another strike with a second action using up his entire turn. That one did 3 damage down to 2, dazing Ulik finally. He had enough power, +1 I think, to pick up the 2 hammers Ulik dropped. He is not helping hold the portal unfortunately, but he does have the 2 hammers, and on his daze side he does have 8 health, so it's going to be hard to shift them in theory. Psylocke activated and decided to see how stable she could make things over here. She started by doing just her basic attack on Heimdall, who had 1 health left, removed that 1 health. Didn't want him to be so easily dazed next turn, because if she did that then, she's currently the only one holding that objective. So Better Bill or maybe Captain America would have to dash over just to contest, because Thor is out of range. She also, speaking of Thor, did a side bow on him, range 4 dice, and managed to do 3 damage to him. It's like Thor never performs well, ever. And on paper he should do better than he does, but he just doesn't. He doesn't feel like a 5 thrower, that's for sure. So that's 3 of his 8 health gone already. She is staying still, having attacked both them, and is, as I said, solely holding that portal now. Better Ray Bill activated for the Asgardians and used Call the Storm on Bullseye. 6 dice energy for 2 power, doesn't generate any power on it at all for him anyway, but did manage to do 4 damage to Bullseye, so he's going home early. His game is done. So that was a plus point for the Asgardians finally. For a second action, he just moved ever so slightly. He wanted to stay within 1 of this portal here, but is prepping himself to, because this is where the final melee of the game is going to happen. I think this will be the decider over there. Shadowlands Daredevil activated and had to move up twice just to get himself really wedged in there on the portal. Wanted to move up once and attack Thor while holding, but couldn't do that. So he didn't do much else with his turn, and it is over to Captain America as the final activation for Asgard. His choices are limited because he's on his wounded side. He can't contest that portal because Rhino is fully healed, and he's not going to do 7 damage to him. Well, maybe he will. It's been spiking. Not for Asgard though. So his options are limited, but it's over to him and then Rhino following on after him. Well, in the end it was decided why not give it a go with Cap, so he spent a total of 6 power across 2 I don't like bullies. It's not limited to once per turn, and Rhino's too big for the throw to ever proc on him. Didn't get any wilds in either roll for the language to inflict stun and something. But the first roll was fantastic, did 5 damage reduced down to 4 because of his Rhino hide. The second one, not great, he had 3 successes. The defense roll was thankfully equally bad though, so that did 3 down to 2, meaning that in total Rhino took 6 and held on by the skin of his teeth. Or Rhino hide, as the case may be. So he's got 1 health left. He did stay standing, and now it's over to him. Rhino didn't do that much. He did a Stampede, which means placed within 1. Hit Cap for 2 damage. He then spent on Twist the Knife. Cruelty to give access to the Twist the Knife attack, which is what happens after you do a successful attack that damages an enemy. You spend 2 and do the attack above, and it did nothing at all, despite Cap's Mystic defense not being super great, and then he just moved back as well. Don't think that counts as an action, but even if it did, he could have just stampeded to get back as well. He's sitting on enough power to do so. And that takes us to the scoring for round 3. So the end of battle round 3, things are heating up and the Criminal Syndicate are pulling away with it a little bit, despite losing 2 of the hammers, because they hold the other 2 still. They hold the portal at the top of the screen there, they hold the portal down here, which means they still gained another 4 victory points, taking them up to 12. The Asgardians recapped a little bit of their losses. They have 2 hammers, so they got 2 for that, and they hold the central portal, so they gained another 1 for that. As we go into battle round 4 then, Asgard has 8, playing 12, so still a bit ahead, and if the Criminal Syndicate can get 4 points this turn, they will win. But it is the Asgardians who are now going first with their first activation again. Well, battle round 4 started with what you might have thought would happen. Thor activated, moved in as his first action, and then did God of Thunder, Area 2, catching everybody, meaning that 1 damage was done to Heimdall and Scourge, Friendly Fire. But the rest were getting 9 dice rolled against them, 7 normally, but he had 2 hammers. So Ulik took 4 down to 3, Psylocke took 2, and Shadowlands Daredevil, of course, he was the weakest one there, so he took the most damage. He took 5. He is dazed. Thor does not have enough power left over to pick up anything because he's tapped him all power. So the hammer he dropped has been placed there, hoping that someone else will get a hold of it real soon. Ulik was first up for the Criminal Syndicate, and he went on a bit of a temper tantrum, starting with Shatter Mountain, Shatter Bones, and he broke Thor over his back, doing 6 damage and removing him from the game, underperforming as per usual. He dropped 2 hammers. Ulik only had 1 power left, so he only picked up 1 hammer at that point. He then did a basic strike into Heimdall with the +1 die from the 1 hammer he picked up. Managed to do 4 to Heimdall, and thanks to that friendly fire damage earlier, that was enough that he's gone as well. So that gave him enough power to then pick up the other hammer, so he's holding 2 again. The one on the floor there is, there we go, is still there. He can't do anything else with that, but he's back holding 2 hammers and holding that portal. Who's healthy over there? Psylocke is the only healthy character there now, so it's looking good for them. Scourge activated and retreated from over there because him on his injured side means he's not really helping. He did pick up the hammer on the floor though, then moved over to this portal to help Bettery Bill hold it. Collectively, Criminal Syndicate are gaining 3 victory points over there, which means if that's the only victory points they gain, they won't win this turn. It does mean that they have to deal with Rhino, but he's only got 1 health left, so it is possible. Well, Rhino activated and spent 3 on Stampede, which added 2 dice to his next gore attack, and he was getting an extra 1 for the hammer he's holding as well. He did it on Captain America, who did use Vibranium Shield, still managed to take 3 damage, it tapped all the power he had as well, and that is him out of there. And so then for Rhino's second action, because Stampede is a superpower, he ran small to the far side of that portal there. And I think that's checkmate, kind of, because no matter what happens, there's no way to avoid the 4th point being scored. Bettery Bill can go after Rhino, take him out, maybe even cap that portal, make him drop the hammer. They're only gaining 3, but Psylocke hasn't activated yet and will be going last. She can leave Ulik guarding there unless Bettery Bill goes over there, in which case it would be a draw healthy wise, and then Ulik would still tip the scales. I don't think there's a way Bettery Bill can do anything other than just spitefully take out Rhino, which he's absolutely going to do, if there is no other option. But we're just going to take a look at the table and see if there's any possible play here. Well, Bettery Bill paid 1 power to take a risk of travelling through the portal, got it so he could pop up where he wanted. He appeared down here, swung Stormbreaker at, or Bringer, either way, at Rhino's butt and hit him for 1 damage, which is exactly enough. He dazed, he paid 1 power and picked up the hammer. He has 1 more action, but there's nothing to do with it. And that basically concludes the game. He obviously is holding that portal and that hammer, so they're going to do well score-wise, but Psylocke is the last one to go for the game. She just needs to medium move twice to here. She's still healthy. Scourge isn't, so she caps that middle portal, and that gives them the 4th point they needed. So we're going to go to scoring in the end of the game. So just to ramp things up officially here, Criminal Syndicate, they have 2 hammers still, the 2 on Ulik for 2 victory points. They hold the portal up there thanks to Ulik for a 3rd, and again, Psylocke moving on to that one means that they cap that because she's healthy and he isn't for their 4, meaning that takes them exactly to the 16 required to win. It's rare to get to exactly 16, usually one team overshoots it a little bit, but that is exactly 16. Asgard, they have the other 2 hammers, and they hold the portal in down here, right down here with Bettery Bill. So they gained 3, meaning that they got to 11 in the end. So 16 plays 11 in Criminal Syndicate's favour. They are the winners today. Asgard continues to struggle a little bit, although Bettery Bill himself seems pretty cool. It's a shame we didn't get to see the tactics cards come out to play for him, but there just wasn't really a fitting moment. The biggest problem, honestly, is that Thor sucks. He shouldn't, really. On paper, you look at the dice he's rolling for his attacks, and 6 health on his healthy side, 8 on his days. You think, well, that seems worthy of 5 threat. He just never performs. I think part of the problem is his charge and his throw shouldn't be 3 power, and his spender, God of Thunder, shouldn't just be rolling dice. It should do something else, like a push, or it doesn't even do guaranteed shock. It's like he is badly in need of changing, especially when you compare him to Ulik, who is a 5 threat as well. You can't compare them because he is better in every way. He moves better, he hits better. I guess he doesn't have a... I think his throw is terrain only, that might be it. He's got a tactics card that lets him move 5 as long as he's not holding an objective. So, long overdue to give Thor an upgrade or a new model that's better. I'd rather they give the current one an upgrade, although a new model would be cool. Don't want them to abandon old models and just be like, we'll just buy the new one, because that's not the way it should go. But he never performs, which is a shame because I like Thor. But either way, thank you very much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Please remember to show your support, and if you want to go above and beyond to support the channel in general, you can become a channel member or press the thanks button. It helps out, it's reinvested and helps cover the cost for more miniatures for the games. Thanks for watching though, enjoy the rest of your day, and ta-ta for now.